As you can tell from the title, I'm not a very big fan of Destiny 2. Before I get into why I call Destiny 2 shiny garbage, I want to say that there are some things about the game that are pretty great. The environments and the overall sound design of the game, including the music, are all done very well. The story from base game to Forsaken is okay, considering most games have shit stories, and a good portion of most popular games today don't even have story modes that people care about. But with that being said, Destiny 2 is a bad game disguised as a good one. The tedious, repetitive grind, the reused weapon design, the downright ugly weapons and armor, the horrible PvP, the lackluster events, and I could keep going. It's all masked by the quality of the game on the surface, and today I'd like to do a semi-breakdown of the game to maybe shed some light on why I hold this opinion. I'm going to start with the PvE side of things because that's going to snowball into the points I'm going to bring up about the other aspects of the game. Now, the PvE isn't inherently bad. You have a wide variety of things you can do throughout your time with Destiny 2. You have a decently long campaign that's about 15 to 20 hours, then you'll be left with lost sectors, patrols, public events, strikes, nightfalls, and raids. It all adds up to be a good amount of content, but this only equals out to be a lot of content on paper. In practice, 4 of those 6 activities become useless after you hit the soft cap. There are things like Escalation Protocol, but you're only going to run that to get 3 weapons, then never touch it again. And the Blind Well, which you're not going to touch once you finish the weekly bounty for it. These quickly become irrelevant once you get what you want out of it. The campaign will have you coming out of it around level 50 and 500 power level, and at the time of this video the cap was increased to 650, so there's still 150 levels for you to grind out once you get done with it. And this is where those 4 out of 6 activities becoming useless comes into the picture. The way Destiny 2 does progression is you'll be given a set amount of activities you can do to level up per week. Yeah, that's as dumb as it sounds, but let me explain why it's dumb as fuck in case you aren't understanding why it's dumb as fuck. Lost sectors, patrols, public events, and strikes reward you with blue gear 99% of the time. This gear drops 15 levels below your current level, so hypothetically, if you're 570, every piece of gear you get will be completely useless in helping you level up. On top of the fact that blue gear is bad in general, this makes running these activities irrelevant. Why would you grind activities that don't give you anything useful? And this is 4 out of 6 of the main PvE activities. Nightfalls are basically the same as strikes, except that nightfalls are a lot harder than a regular strike. They have no matchmaking, meaning you either have to be in an active clan or go outside of the game to a LFG site just to run them. And most of the gear you get will be blue. Even if you get the strike specific piece of gear to drop, it'll be far below your power level and have a random roll, so you're more than likely going to have to run it again and again and again to get a good one. Legendaries drop far below your level and require you to use a pretty rare resource called enhancement cores and a piece of gear to level them up to where you currently are. This makes most legendaries you get useless. If it's not a perfect roll, you'll be immediately dismantling it. And this is bad because it makes almost every single gear drop you get from most PvE activities completely useless. You know, the point of the game post-campaign is to level up, and most of the gear you get during the level process is useless. This in turn gives players no reason to play the game after they complete their weekly activities. But the dumbassness of it isn't like done at that point. These weekly powerful rewards are RNG. So let's say 7 of your 8 gear pieces are 580 and 1 piece is 571. There's a very high chance of you wasting every powerful reward you have for the week because they all would drop for those gear slots at 580. And that's basically telling you come back next week and try again, because there's no point in playing the game after you complete these weekly activities. The one saving grace for this absolutely terrible loot system though is the PvP. Gear level in PvP is irrelevant. You can go in at 510 and do just as much work as someone at 610. The only difference is the gear you're using. And don't get me wrong, the PvP in Destiny is terrible, but at least it makes those low level legendaries useful. But let's talk about the actual PvP mode for a second. This is the most no skill required, cheese filled, unbalanced PvP you can pay for. If this is what the player base wants in PvP, then I'm confident in saying that most Destiny players are children and scrubs. The maps are so small that shotguns are the best weapons and it's not even debatable. Hand cannons overpower everything else if you have decent aim, and nothing else is worth using if it isn't a pulse rifle. This pulse rifle specifically. Snipers are only good if you're used to sniping. Like, the only reason I can snipe in this game is because I've been sniping in every FPS since Halo Combat Evolved. If you're coming into this game as a first-time sniper, you're going to have a bad time in PvP until you get comfortable with the pace of the game. And everything else can fuck right off. None of the other weapon types are worth using outside of a couple exotics like Wave Splitter. That gun is overpowered as fuck. Back to the map size though, the maps are so small that you'll often be spawned in and be getting shot at before you can even move. And in Control, which is capture the flag, you can barely go towards an enemy flag and the spawns will just completely flip, and now the enemy is spawning at your home flag and coming behind you. This will lead to situations where you're getting shot at from every direction just because you decided to go a couple feet left of the B flag. Now, Destiny 2 started off as 4v4 because of the size of the maps. It stopped it from being a clusterfuck of running into enemies every 2 seconds and spawning into gunfights and supers. I can't understand why they would go back to 6v6. It's so terrible. And on top of that, you have power ammo. Power ammo spawns in like 30 seconds after the match starts. One guy on one team gets an OP one-shot weapon for after 30 seconds into the match. Imagine playing a game like Call of Duty and some guy just pulled up a Hellstorm missile or an airstrike 30 seconds into the match and then did it again and again and again every 45 seconds. That's essentially what this is, because certain heavy weapons are just brain dead point and click free kills. You know, supers are unbalanced and broken. You have Nova Warp that can teleport through damage and hit you from miles away. They can hit you through walls with this Dragon Ball Z explosive wave shit.
What? Is that it?
And already have insane armor when they're in their super. But then you look at a super like Golden Gun, which can be killed like a regular Guardian. One shot to the head with a sniper, or just one shot with a shotgun up close. The abilities are unbalanced. There's one hit kill abilities like the Warlock Supernova, which has more range than a damn shotgun. Titans have one shot shoulder charges. Like, what is this balance? And it's not just these supers and abilities that are unbalanced. I can make an entire video on the lack of balance between subclasses. It's honestly one of the most incompetent parts of this game. And then you combine all this shit with certain exotics, and PvP turns into who has the most one-shots instead of who has the better gun skill or who has the better map knowledge. The matchmaking is pure ass on top of that. Solos get matched up against stacked teams often. New guys get teamed up with serious players. You'll join matches with lopsided teams, games that are basically over before you even load in. It's fucking disgusting. Like, the state of PvP, this is the worst PvP I've ever played. Like I said, at this point, I believe most Destiny players have to be kids and scrubs, because nobody with a competitive spirit or skill is going to be okay with PvP in its current state. And it seems like the community is okay with PvP. Now, a small point before I get to the conclusion of this video. Right now, we have an event called The Dawning going on. This event is such a waste of time after you do the first step and get your machine gun from Zavala. Everyone else is going to reward you with blue gear or old legendary gear, of course below your power level if RNG blesses you. I'm not going to go in depth with this event because I'm not about to waste my time doing it on all three characters. But this event just sums up how Bungie does not respect its player base, their time, or the money that they poured into this game. You do all this grinding and playing Bakery Simulator just to receive blue gear. Like, what the fuck? You know, I was going to end this video off with some helpful ideas that can make Destiny 2 less of a terrible game. But while making this video, I realized that Bungie think they know what's best for us. There's no point in offering advice, because even if they did hear it, they wouldn't hear it, if you get what I mean. So, you know, fuck this game, fuck D3 if it ever comes out, fuck Bungie for making this waste of time ass game. You know how they don't give a fuck about his player base? Season 5 just started, right? And all they added was 3 weapons. After 3 months, all they added was 3 weapons. No new armor, no new perks for things, nothing interesting to the game modes like maps or anything. But the cash shop got a complete overhaul of cosmetics in a $200 game. This game cost $200 from day 1 till now. And in its 5th season, the only thing they got a good amount of items is the cash shop. I'm fucking done, bro.